Hey, Tony Gaskins here. You know what? Got a little free time this morning because I had a coaching call at noon, but the young lady, she wrote me last night and needed to cancel because she had already got some sessions with some of them, I guess some of the other coaches on my mentor.life. So I wanted to pop in today and do this video on who is Tony Gaskins. Who am I? See, one thing, I've been dealing with this for a while now, to where a lot of times as a coach, you get lumped in with other people. You get lumped in and just say, oh, he's a coach, and oh, he has a following, so he's just like this person, he's just like that person. And a lot of times people may hear stuff about coaches and don't hear anything about you specifically, don't have anything on your name specifically, but just because you have a following or because you are a coach, you get lumped in with every coach who has slept with their client or taken advantage of their client. And can't any of my clients tell you they slept with me, I came on to them, I tried to sleep with them, anything of that nature. But there are coaches who do that. And I've coached people who was sleeping with their pastor who was coaching them, or sleeping with their life coach who was coaching them. So that is real. That does happen. It don't happen here. And a lot of women have had their feelings hurt by trying to come on to me or flirt with me. And I want you to understand this about me, for everybody who on my page. What you got to understand is you'll know the tree by the fruit it bears. You'll know the tree by the fruit it bears. Pay very close attention. Pay very close attention, and you'll be able to separate the real from the fake. And one thing about it is, wherever God brings clarity, the devil is going to bring confusion. So whenever you have individuals who are helping, it's going to be individuals who look just like those helping, but they actually are destroying. And the purpose of that is the devil has always emulated God. Whatever God do, I remember one of the signs for, the Satan worshipers was an upside down cross. And we say God's number is 7. We look at the number 7 for completion. And then what they say the devil number 6. So it's when you pay attention to it, the adversary always emulates what God is trying to do. And when God brings clarity, the adversary brings confusion, because there's people that's hanging in the balance. And if the righteous make a righteous argument and they sound right and it sounds good and it sounds believable, and you start to change your life, you start to work on yourself, and then you have those working for the adversary come and they make an argument and it sounds good and it sounds believable, and they may have some truth to their story and the other side has truth to their story. Now the people hanging in the balance are confused. And that's what's happening. But see, I have you to understand this. I was raised in a small town where there was not a lot of black marriages. My parents were married until I was maybe 20, 21. And growing up, we just did the normal stuff because a lot of my cousins and friends, they did not have their parents in the home. So I remember my cousin introducing me to the nasty magazines. And here we are, we looking at this stuff. So then we get with our little friends and we in school and we trying to do what we saw in the nasty magazine. And that starts to play a role in your life. At 15 years old, I lost my virginity, so I think. And because, when you first time, you really don't know what you really doing. And from there, I was all out. So by the age of 21, I met my wife at 21. By the age of 21, I had stopped counting the women that I had dealt with at that time. And for me, I was an athlete all my life, played football and played basketball. And I was always at the top of the top tier in my sport, on my team, in my league, in my division, and I was an athlete. And I was a quiet kid. Unless you knew me, I didn't bother nobody. I didn't have to get in no fights. I didn't have to be tough. Nobody ain't bother me. I was cool with everybody because I was an athlete. My family big. My daddy got 11 brothers. My daddy got 9 brothers and 2 sisters, and all from the same general area. So my family name was big where I grew up at. So ain't nobody bother me because they knew I had big cousins. They knew I had family. They knew my family name. And I started probably in the 9th grade. I'm with my boys and we looking for how many girls can we get? Hey, how many phone numbers can you get? How many numbers can you get? And that became the goal. And in a part of that, you look around at relationships and I see my aunt I had an aunt who came over to my grandmother's house, which was her mom, and she had broke ribs from her boyfriend. I had another aunt. She came over and she had, trying to get the light from right behind me, and she had permanently swole eyes. This here bone right here was swollen, and her lips, if my lip hit my tooth and I bust my lip to where it cut through the meat, it's gonna create a lump like this. My aunt lips permanently swollen like that. One of my aunts. Another aunt, she had 2 kids and then she went from men and started dating women. And I would see I remember seeing one of her girlfriends come over and was burnt from hot water or hot grease. I remember seeing my first cousin come to my grandmother's house and she had just got married and she had a black eye. And the black eye was from her husband. I remember seeing my uncle's girlfriend come over and her whole face was swollen. It was swollen so big because my uncle had beat her. I remember seeing, before the age of 6, seeing my mom and daddy yelling, screaming, fussing, fighting. No blood, no punching, no police, but just toxicity. So I saw this and it became programmed. And guess what? If I was seeing it, as my parents got into church when I was 6. So if I was seeing this as a church kid that had 2 parents in the home, imagine what people were seeing who lived in the projects, who didn't have parents around, who parents had to work 2-3 jobs, and who was raising themselves and didn't have the church, prayer, the Bible, ministering to them, holding them accountable, somewhat of a guidelines for life. Imagine what those people saw. So it became the norm that we thought it was unanimous across the board that everybody assumed that love is pain. And that's what I saw. And I remember just from the age of 16, I started looking for a wife. Because I saw my father in the home with my mother, I saw marriage. And after the age of 6, their marriage was fine. I didn't see anything because they had got into the church. My dad eventually became, an elder in the church, an assistant pastor. Then eventually he started his own church. And we had our own church. And so it was small, probably 25 members. But my dad changed his life. And he grew. And I remember when I was real young, they'll have friends over playing cards, have a little, vodka and orange juice. I just remember the orange juice because I remember they'll give me a glass of orange juice while they playing cards. And they'll have just a little good time. No smoking. There was no smoking weed, nothing like that. No drugs, no needles and snorting and all that. It just was cards, and they may have them a little something to drink. And by the age of 6, all that was out the door. And so I was raised, my daddy had me reading. He had me reading a chapter of the Bible every day. I had to read a chapter and I had to write a summary. And that was my life. But yet, because I was raised right, the adversary was on me. And because I was a young man, as a black man playing sports, I was a star athlete. And when I say star athlete, in my county, it's not that small. We got a lot of pro athletes come out of my county. In football, I was number one in the county in rushing. When I say star athlete, I mean I was number one. In basketball, I was number 5 in the county, averaging 18 points a game. In football, I was averaging 10 yards a carry. So I went to college on a full football scholarship. So being an athlete, all of the young ladies, they want to be with an athlete anyways, because that's who get the clout on campus. And so it was always just young ladies, like of all races, just would send me a note saying, hey, can I do this to you? Can I do this to you? Can we do this? Can you come over to my place? They was throwing themselves at me. But I was being raised somewhat right. So although I started living in sin, I still had that, on my shoulder, God just, hey, you doing wrong. And I was keeping track of how many women I was lying down with, because that's what I equated to manhood. Because that's what we thought made you a man. The more women you get, the cooler you are. The more of a man you are. We didn't know any better. My dad, he didn't talk to me about the birds and the bees. And I don't know why. I don't know why he did. I feel like now looking back, being a father and just having that conversation with my son the other day, who's 13, and my son goes to a different kind of school. He goes to a Christian school, so it's nowhere near, like they don't have a fight all year. Not a single fight all year. That's totally different than the kind of school I went to. We had a fight every day, sometimes 3-4 fights in a day. And so his school totally different. He got 10, 15 people in the classroom. My school, we had 30, 40 people in the classroom. And I talked to my son about the birds and the bees because I remember my dad not talking to me about it. And my little sister, he didn't talk to her about it. And for him, when I look back at it, I feel like I recall him saying that he felt like if he talked about it, it would be condoning it. It would introduce us to it and make us curious. But what he didn't realize is just the world and how fast it was going, and that we already knew about all that stuff anyways. And it'd be better to be enlightened about it by your parents. But no parent has a rule book. No parent has a guidebook. Every parent just shooting in the dark, doing the best that they can. And so couldn't blame him at all. And I just recall, being there. We got a delivery coming. I forgot about that. So I'm going to try to talk through it because they don't need me. It's white glove delivery. So, and he didn't talk to me about it. I remember my mama, she brought a prophylactic, contraceptive, if that's what it's called, and put it in my room on my desk, on my dresser. And my dad came and took it back. And I remember her saying, I tried to give you that just in case anything happened, but your dad took it back because he feel like if I give it to you, that's condoning it. And in my head, I was like, man, it's happening anyways. At least y'all could do is talk to me about it. Tell me about it. Tell me what I'm getting into. What's the risk to it? Didn't have that conversation. So here I am. I'm all the opportunity right there. I'm being approached. I remember it was certain young ladies that every year would say, Tony, are you going to be my boyfriend this year? It was a different breed of woman when they come from the projects. They come from raising themselves. They come from growing up fast. It's a grown woman in a 8th grade body, meaning her mentality. I remember when I was in 6th grade, I had a girlfriend in 7th grade. She was sleeping with 10th graders because her mom was at work. When she got home from school, her mom was at work because you working until 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. School get out 2:40, 3 o'clock. So she had to ride the bus home. The high schoolers, the 10th graders, was going and sleeping with her. She was in 7th grade. And I remember she wrote me a letter. She said, hey, Tony, you need to ride the bus home with me because it's time for us to have sex. I was like, wow. So I let her know, hey, unfortunately, I ain't say unfortunately, that wasn't in my vocabulary. I said, I can't ride the bus home with you because how I'm going to get from your house to my house? My mama ain't coming to pick me up. I ain't allowed to have no girlfriend. In so many words, what I told her. I remember that girlfriend throwing me up against the wall in school and just tonguing me down. Put me up in the corner and just tonguing me down. I remember one day coming out of PE, coming out the locker room, and an 8th grader say, Tony, come here. She had to painted her nails and put Tony on her nails and showed it to me. That she painted Tony in her nails. I didn't even know the girl. Then it didn't even really talk to her. She just kept asking me, be my boyfriend, be my boyfriend, be my boyfriend. So this is what I'm going through, right? And I'm trying to find my way. The first curse word I said was in the 6th grade. And it was the B word. And it was because I was walking home from school and a young lady ran up to me and she reached and she grabbed my private. Just a handful. I was like, B? I didn't even know how to cuss. It was off beat. It was out of place. And I remember her cousin was like, girl, go on somewhere. You done made that man sin. That's that man first sin. Because I was known as the good kid, the good boy. And by the 9th grade, that's when I lost my virginity. By the 12th grade, I think the number was 22. By 21, I remember having a little piece of paper. And see, this is me being transparent with you. And the crazy thing about it is people will take your transparency and use it against you. But it just is what it is. When you call to serve, you got to be transparent. You got to expose yourself when you call to serve. I remember having a little piece of paper and I was keeping track of the names. I remember getting the number 79 and lost that paper and stopped counting. And from there, it could have been another 20, 30. I didn't talk about it. I didn't wear it on my sleeve. I remember having a conversation with my homeboys. One of our guys made it out from where we at. A population of our city was 5,000. That's how small it was. One of the guys made it out, went to the NBA. So we go over to his house because he played for a team. He played for Orlando. And here this man is now making millions of dollars. I remember sitting over there and I remember a couple of my homeboys was over there and we were talking about our numbers. And one of the guys was like, man, I was like, man, I'm at whatever, 120, 150. And he was like, man, I'm at 300. I'm at like 300. Then the other guy was like, man, I'm at 600. And another guy was like, man, I'm at like 50. And these was crazy numbers, but guess what? These numbers was real. And I could believe the 300 and I could believe the 600. Because there was times that I would be with 3 different women in a 24-hour period. My wife right outside of this here room. And outside this room, so y'all hear me talking transparent. Hey, babe, come here. How many balls you got? Yeah.
What's up?
I'm talking about my life. You hit me?
I hate you.
You want to come over here? Come on here on camera.
I don't.
You don't want to be on camera? See, my wife don't like being on the camera. You ain't got to come on camera if you want to.
Fine.
She looking good now. Nah, baby, how you feel when I be telling my story?
I mean, it's fine. It doesn't bother me.
And why it don't bother you though?
Because it's not you now, so I didn't know you then. So I mean,
Yeah. Now, when we met, you ain't asked me how many people I had been with or nothing like that.
Yeah, because you're just gonna lie. So what? He's like.
And that's the truth. I would have lied. Everybody was lying. I remember my number was 5. If somebody asked me, my number was 5.
Right. So it was like I'm not gonna just waste my time because you're gonna lie. So I'm like, all right.
So what you did? Just judge me on how I treated you?
Right. And if I saw you caught up in anything, then that would be indicative of what. But I mean, it's kind of like irrelevant because if you slept with one person, you could still be a dog. You slept with 20, you could be, not. It just depends. Like it's
right.
So
I'll see.
Yeah.
All right, babe. I love you. I just wanted to. I ain't gonna hold you. I just want people. That's the queen now. Now she don't always come on the video. And babe, why you don't hardly get on the video that much?
I mean, it's just not my thing. Like it's not. I mean, I don't mind. Like but I'm not trying to be you, so I don't have to be on here every day or trying to, But eventually, maybe I'll make my own YouTube again, but not, I'm not trying to compete with you or be a life coach too or whatever,
Yeah, you think life coaches get a bad rap?
Sometimes, but I think that it's just like they sum different people up together, and it's not the case. Like, because I don't come on live, people are like, oh, maybe he's not happily married. We're very happily married, and he's not the same as other people. But I don't think, like, there might be some bad life coaches that do things, but I don't think that they're all the same, and I don't think you're like any of them. So,
Yeah. Now this coming out her mouth. Now I just called in here. Now we just got a delivery to the door.
Yeah.
And I saw them about how many boxes it was. Quite a few.
Yeah.
She set a Guinness Book World Records on how many deliveries you could get.
Oh my gosh.
In a pandemic. So I'm gonna call Guinness to see what the record is. But I love you, baby. I appreciate it. I'm gonna let you do your thing.
See y'all later.
And so now that's the queen. Now she didn't ask me about all that, and like she said, you just would have lied. And that's the truth. My number was 5. Because what I was doing, it was like I was programmed. It was like I didn't even know what I was doing. I just thought that was manhood. I thought that's what you do. And I remember my friends telling me their numbers, and I could believe it. I remember it was a guy who I felt like as a man, I felt like he was ugly. Now, I really don't know what a handsome man is, but I feel like I know what an ugly man is. I felt like he was ugly. Why I felt like he was ugly, I don't know. Just because I kind of feel like every guy ugly, because I'm a man. I'm not attracted to men. I'm attracted to a woman. So I was like, "What? Hey, man, you ugly, boy." And then he was like, "Man, I look better than you." I'm like, "Man, I look better than you." And that was our joke. All our friends we see, "Man, I look better than you." And that was just our little thing. And he said, "Tony, listen to me. Ain't nothing you can do with a woman that I can't do, because we both grown men." And I was like, and we probably were 18, 19, 20, I don't know how old we were. And we said, I was like, man, you know what, you right. Because look at this man over here, how many women he dealing with, and we know he ugly. And, it was another little friend we had. Looked like a little black leprechaun. And I was like, man, and his number was high. And we were judging each other by that. We didn't know no better. And then at 21 years old, I met my wife. This after me being toxic, controlling, abusive, cheater. I was playing college football, and I went through toxic relationships as a college football player. And it got really bad. It was abusive relationships. It was mentally, physically, emotionally, verbally, and it was both ways. It was toxic. And I remember being with young ladies who thought that if a man don't get out of hand with you, he don't love you. And I remember one of my exes telling me that. She said, my sister, my mama, they all have been choked by my dad, choked my mom, all my sisters get choked by their boyfriend. I feel like if you don't choke me, you don't love me. I'm trying to skip over these words because sometimes stuff get, flagged on here. I was like, wow, it's crazy. It explained it though. It explained why she did the things she did, trying to get under my skin, trying to get me to fly off the handle. And me not knowing what I was in, not even knowing what I was up against. It was spiritual warfare. That's why when I saw certain celebrities get into their incidents, I could see the spiritual warfare. And I remember my sister told me, she said, your girlfriend told me that she loved to see you mad, and that she do what she got to do to make you mad because she loved to see you angry. I was like, wow. And I left that relationship. Because I said, this ain't love. But yet it stayed with me. It stuck with me. And when I got with my wife, I still had some of those traits, some of those behaviors, wanting to be controlling, wanting to be this or that. And when I met my wife, I showed it in probably the first 2 or 3 months, and she cut me off. She broke up with me because she wasn't with it. She was like, no, I just left something toxic, because she had been in a 1-year relationship. I just left something. I'm not finna be with you, and you finna be acting like this. And it was not physical or anything. It was just me, what you doing, where you going, who you with. And 6 months later, we just happened to run back into each other. And I wasn't chasing her. She wasn't chasing me. We just linked back up. Happenstance. It was God. And 10 months later, we was married. We both were living in sex sin, fornication, meaning with each other. or if we was in a committed relationship. So my wife had only been in one relationship before me. When I met her, she was 19 years old. She had been in a relationship at 18. When she met me, I had been out there. I didn't share that with her. I ain't talked to her about it because it was not really anything to talk about, because it was normal for men. It was normal. And I think a lot of times women don't realize that. I think most, because men don't tell it. Men not just walk around, oh, I slept with 100 women. Man don't put a sticker on his forehead, 50, 100, 200, 300. You don't see a sticker on his forehead. I done talked to men who got money now, who got millions, and I'm like, how many women you been with? And they were like, I don't know. I don't count that. I said, 100? What? Wait, 500? What? 1,000? Yeah, more than 1,000. I remember talking to a guy, say, how many women you done slept with in a 24-hour period? He said 10. I remember talking to another guy, his number was 8. My number as a broke, average, regular guy was 3. I was out there. So this is the thing. Now, people use this against me, but that's why I do what I do, because here's what happened. When I met my wife, I realized real love. We created real love because she stood her ground. She stood her ground. She did not compromise. And she forced me to grow if I wanted to be with her. And being with her, I had went to college to play football. I got kicked off my college football team for a bad attitude. I was lazy. I ain't like lifting weights. I ain't like running fast. I ain't like doing none of that. Even though I was the best all-around athlete on the team, me and one other guy. And he was faster than me, but he wasn't as strong as me, and he wasn't as good as me at running back, but he was better than me at wide receiver. He was a wide receiver, I was running back. So we were equally good in our positions, but he ended up taking my position because I was lazy and unfocused. And he moved running back from wide receiver. And he was a tenth of a second faster than me in the 40. I ran a 4.3, he ran a 4.4. The next person behind us was like a 4.6. And so 4.6 seconds in 40-yard dash, for those of y'all who don't know what that is. And I got kicked off the team 3 years into my scholarship. I came home to Florida. I enrolled in a school, Division I school. I tried to get on the football team. The coach told me no, because you ain't got enough eligibility left. So I went to school. I dropped out that first semester. I had picked up 15 credits to get the check. And I got the check, dropped out. Then I enrolled again in the next semester. Had to pay some money back. When I dropped out, I went to the streets and started hustling. Started selling weed. And it was in October of that first semester, because it started in August. I met my wife October. I consider her my girlfriend October 29th. I remember the number. It was 2005. And the fact that I remember that number let you know that I really took her serious. We broke up. We ended up getting back together. June, the relationship started seriously, June 5th, 2006. In December 25th, in September 26th, her birthday, she conceived. Our son conceived. We were living in sin. December 25th, 2006, I asked her to marry me. March 30th, 2007, we got married. I had just turned 23 March 8th. See, that's what the difference is. It's how many men you know get married at 23 years old in a couple weeks. I got married. June, she left me because I went back to the streets the beginning of June. Got me a little bit of work. And I had left the streets for her. February 1st, though, before we got married, I published my first book, What Daddy Never Told His Little Girl. And here's why I wrote the book. I was talking to a homegirl of mine who we had dated virtually. We grew up together playing basketball. We really weren't a fit or nothing like that, but I was in college bored and she was bored, and we called ourselves boyfriend and girlfriend, but never even kissed. Never even was in each other's presence when we were so-called boyfriend and girlfriend. She sent me a Valentine's Day gift. I had my mama send her a Valentine's Day gift, and nothing came of it, And I remember seeing her brother was coming up, and he was dating outside of his race. And I remember writing her on Facebook, and I said, hey, tell your brother, be careful with that now. Be careful with that, because I did that. And I had run-ins with the Ku Klux Klan. A lot go down now. Be careful with that. And she said, you tell him. And she said, what made you stop doing it? And I explained it to her, and then she said, what made you change? Because at this time, I'm engaged. And she said, you ought to write a book, Tony. This was on Facebook message inbox. She said, you ought to write a book. I said, all right, do me a favor. Get 10 questions from your college friends, and I'll answer them as a man, no holds barred. This is what you got to understand. This is the key. This was 2007. This was 2006 when I started writing the book. This was 2006. See, that's what people get confused right there is they try to take and lump me in with every relationship coach that's doing it for money. When I got started, I was 22 years old. There was no money. There was no YouTube. There was no Twitter. We only had Facebook, and it was not monetized. There was no money. Life coaching wasn't even a thing in 2006. I did this solely from my heart. And that's what people get confused is I did this because I was changing my life and I wanted to help other people. I had been the biggest dog and I wanted to genuinely help women. No money attached. No money was attached because I wanted to help because I had made so many mistakes. Not intentionally, not maliciously, just because I was young, dumb, ignorant, and doing what was being done in the world. And not to pass blame or not to accept blame. It's just we do what we know. We do what we taught. Being in a relationship is a learned behavior. When you learn how to love in a relationship. And I wrote the book. And it was no holds barred. And it touched on interracial relationships. It touched on abuse in relationships. It touched on can guys and girls be just friends. It touched on all kinds of stuff. It was 10 questions. And that's only 3 of them, I think. It was 10 questions. I can't remember. I wrote the book. My wife saw me. She left me in June. I begged, got her back in June. I rededicated my life to Christ June 17th, 2007. The fact that I remember these dates says a lot to me because I don't remember stuff like this. I don't remember people's names, nothing. And June 17, 2007, I rededicated my life to Christ. I had become an author February 1st, 2007, left the book stuff alone because I got a royalty check because you get paid quarterly. So when I published the book, I published it through an internet publisher and it costed $1,300. My wife gave me $1,600 from her refund check from school because she sold into my book because she wanted to see me change my life. And I was like, baby, maybe this could help us. It's this thing out here called Amazon. That's how far ago this was. Amazon just like had hit my radar. It was 2007 when I said it's a thing called Amazon. And they sell books because Amazon started as a books only site. And I said, they sell books. And so people may go search for a book and they may find my book. But they mark it's to the whole world. So I make $4 a book. I say, what if 1,000 books sell every month? That's $4,000 that we will earn to take care of ourselves. So on that side of it, when I wrote it, I didn't think no money was going to be a part of it. Then I saw where I could be using my gift because my mama had been telling me forever, baby, you need to write. Baby, you need to write. Baby, you need to write. And my mom used to tell me, you're going to make a living writing. You're going to be a writer. You need to write for Hallmark cards because I was a poet. And when I write essays in school, my teachers would always make a big deal about my writing style. And it really was just because I would infuse wisdom in my writing because I was raised reading the Bible, which is a book of wisdom. And mostly the book of Proverbs is what I was reading. So it was a book of wisdom. So I developed a different type of wisdom for my age. And when I wrote, I'm thinking like, man, this gonna help me get out the streets. I done left the streets alone. I'm working, but I'm only making $8.50 an hour. I had got the $9.50 an hour working as a counselor in a group home, like support staff in a group home with grown men who were, sex offenders, but they had mental disabilities so that they couldn't stand trial or go to prison, so they were put in a home. And they had different mental, illnesses, bipolar, schizophrenic, what have you. And so I'm working with these men, $9.50 an hour, but I got a wife, and my son was born 2.5 months early. He was born 2.5 months early, and it was April 26, 2007. He was supposed to, his due date was July 4th, 2007. May, June, July. So about 2.5 months. He was born 2 months early, something like that. And he went in the intensive care unit. He was there for, I think, 3 months. He was 2 pounds, 10 ounces. And that's why I went back to the streets telling myself I need to make extra money. My wife left me. I had to get out the streets to get her back. I had to rededicate my life to Christ to be with her. So now here I was. I said, I got to go back to pushing my book. My royalty check had came because you get paid quarterly. So that's January, February, March. Your check comes 6 weeks later. So you got March, then you got April, May. So the middle of May, I got my royalty check. It was the end of May that I went back to the streets. My royalty check was $300 for 2 months worth of book sales. So for those of y'all who say every relationship coach doing it for the money, let your job send you $300 for working 2 months. How you gonna live? How you gonna live? So it ain't about money. It ain't about money. Eventually you find a way of how to live your purpose. You find a way eventually. But I was working a full-time job from 2006. I published my book 2007. I'm still on my job 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011. My book was making no money. I had 2 royalty checks that was $300. I never had a royalty check from that book more than $300, and that only happened twice. The rest of my royalty checks, my wife started to tease me because I thought the first check would be like $12,000. And she told me later, she said, I knew it wasn't going to make any money. I knew it wasn't going to sell because how? You ain't have no name. Ain't nobody know you. Ain't no celebrity. Nobody know who going to buy the book. Like she said, I knew it, but I want to support you. I want to encourage you. And we laugh about it now because I had big dreams. I'm thinking my writing ability going to help us out. Going to help ease some stress. We didn't have no furniture. We was living in a ran down neighborhood. We had no furniture in the living room. We had a bed in our room and we had a crib for my son. That was it. And we'll get a paycheck, we'll pay our bills, and we'll have like $25 to get us over the next 2 weeks. And sometimes we'll have a quarter, literally 25 cents left over. And my wife couldn't work because she had to be with my son every single day. So we literally was living as adults off $9.50 an hour, my income. That was it. And then I might get $1,000 in a year, in the course of a year, for my book that I wrote. Who doing it for money? Who doing it for money? You see what I'm saying? When I wrote my book in 2007, there was no way to see relationship coaches. Coaching wasn't even a thing. I remember getting on a teleseminar and it was a white guy. And he said, if you've written a book, you can be a life coach. This was 2007, I believe, maybe 2008. And all I had was Facebook at the time. He said, you could be a life coach. So I didn't know what a life coach was. I looked it up, I Googled it. There was a certification that was $2,500. The certification was $2,500 in 2007. My certification, my life coach certification that people taking right now is $850 in 2020. Who doing it for money? Who doing it for money? It's $850 in 2020. It was $2,500 in 2007. Today, them same type of courses charging $5,000, $10,000. I got a client that told me she paying $12,000 for her life coach certification. It's not that serious. It's not that serious because it's not required by law. And I tell everybody that who take my course. This is not required by law. This is something you doing because you want to get trained, and it's recommended, but it's not required. Because I didn't get certified when I started as a coach. I got it off the muscle. I had to learn. I was self-taught. I'm self-taught because there is no regulation in life coaching. It's about wisdom. It's about your servant's heart. It's about you being a servant. That's all it's about. This video might be my one video that go over an hour, but this means a lot to me because I don't like when, everybody get lumped in and everybody just assume that just because you out here doing something and other people, and because crooks get into it and abusers get into it and people who taking advantage get into it, that everybody all the same. And that's not the case. That's not the case, because when I got started, there was no example. There was no example. There was no coach. There was no coach. You know who I was listening to? I was listening to Zig Ziglar, and he did not do one-on-one sessions. He was not a life coach. He was a speaker. He was a motivational speaker because he had been a salesman. And I was listening to Zig Ziglar, and from Zig Ziglar, I found Jim Rohn. And from Jim Rohn, from Ziglar, I found Brian Tracy. And from Jim Rohn, I found Tony Robbins. And from Tony Robbins, I found Les Brown. I remember I was a speaker and somebody said to me, "You remind me of Les Brown." I had no clue who Les Brown was. That's how I didn't have a mentor. There was no book on it. There was no mastermind group on it. There was no course on it. There was none of that. I was operating from purpose because I felt called to it. And I was a baby. I was 22 years old. You got people who in their 40s cussing like a sailor, cussing people out, still hurt, still broken, and just knocking life coaches, knocking relationship coaches, knocking pastors. I'm against the people who is taking advantage and abusing their power. I'm against that too. But you just can't lump everybody in because everybody ain't got the same genesis. Everybody ain't got the same calling. Everybody ain't doing it for the same reason. And then the thing about it is people just trust older people more than younger people. So because I'm in my 30s, people assume that somebody in their 40s or their 50s is more genuine because I'm in my 30s. But I actually been doing this since I was 22 as a baby. And I remember I became a life coach because I heard that on a seminar. A guy teach you how to build your business, how to build your brand. He's still doing it to this day. How to build your brand and build your business using your gifts. Who don't want to make a living operating in their calling, operating in their purpose? Who doesn't want to do that? Why would you be upset with somebody working full time in their calling and being compensated and earning a living helping people who need help? It ain't always about somebody taking advantage and somebody preying on. Nobody being preyed on, if they come and seek you out and they hire you for your services, for your time. You're not preying on anybody. Nobody out here. I'm not putting a gun to nobody here. Just like that young lady last night. She canceled within 12 hours. I was up studying. Happened to open my email, and the young lady could tell you I refunded this young lady at 1 o'clock in the morning. Our session was supposed to be at noon. Businesses don't do that. I had to go to a chiropractor this morning. They charge you a fee if you don't show up for your appointment. Businesses don't do that. I refunded the young lady because she didn't want the session. And because she said she already got some help. And what I do is I tell people all the time, I say every client that I coach, I tell them, listen, if my rate is not affordable for you, we got several other coaches on mymentor.life. See, if I was doing it for money, I wouldn't have created mymentor.life where we got over 400 coaches. I wouldn't have created competition for myself. I wouldn't have created that. I would have kept it all to me. I would have been, just let me coach. And my rate is what it is because because I don't want to be on the phone all day. I don't want to be coaching all day. I could make my rate $100 and literally be on the phone 10 hours a day. Why? Because I have over 2 million, over 3 million people online. But I don't want to be on the phone all day coaching. I coach 2 people a day. And I only coach 4 days a week. Now I coach 3 days a week. Who doing it for the money? If I was doing it for the money, I'd be coaching 7 days a week. You know what I'm saying? I'd be coaching 7 days a week. I'd be coaching 8 hours a day, just like when you work a job. I coach 2 hours a day for 3 days a week. Who do it for the money? You see what I'm saying? So this what you got to understand is why a person come into something. And so for me, I became a life coach when this man introduced this because I was 23 years old. I'm looking how to take care of my wife and my son. So if you tell me I can earn a living using my gifts, he said, if somebody reads your book and they want more insight, you can charge for your time because you don't get your time back. And so you could charge them. So what I started charging $25 an hour. $25, who doing it for the money? I started charging $25 an hour. And I had one client, then I had 2 clients. And I had 2 clients, and I would just have like 2 clients off and on. Most people will do one session and they'll never do another session. And it really because some people just want to meet you. Some people just want to talk to you because they saw that you're an author. And back then that was rare. 2007, 2008, that was rare to be an author. I didn't know any authors. My cousin wrote a book, but she wrote it and got it printed at the print shop and got staples down the middle of it. That was the closest thing to a book I had seen. Mine was glue bound and selling on Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, such.com. So that was very rare. And all it was a Google search that helped me figure out how to do that. And so from there, I started creating other streams of income based on my gifts. So $25 an hour, I'm probably making $50 a week. That's $200 a month. Who doing it for the money? How you gonna live off that? $200 a month. And then from there, every day I started pitching myself. I would picture myself every morning I would wake up and pitch myself to Oprah.com, TyraBanksShow.com, and CNN.com. Trying to get my story out, trying to help. I say, let me get my story out. I want people to hear my story of how toxic I was, how nasty, how terrible I was, and how I changed my life. The mindset shift that I went through. Here I was a baby. I set a goal at 23. I said I want to be on Oprah. When I went on Oprah at 25, almost 2 years to the date. I said in 2 years I want to be on Oprah. I went on Oprah. She didn't mention my book. She didn't stamp my book. I didn't make a single dollar. What Oprah did is I told my story about a toxic incident that happened in college. A physical incident with my ex-girlfriend where things blew out of hand. Where she had contracted a STD and had slept with me. And then I caught her talking to her ex. And stuff hit the fan. It was no black eyes, no bust lips, no police reports. It was a college dorm room situation. Nobody knew about it except for me and her. I exposed it and wrote about it in my first book. Then I wrote every day telling that story to Oprah.com. They called me and Oprah interviewed me live. That interview was not online because it was live. And they were held liable because she kept accusing Chris Brown of his situation with Rihanna, and she wasn't saying allegedly. So I believe that's why they never aired it again, because she was accusing him of it. Even though it was clear that he did it, you still, when you're on the media, you got to say allegedly until the person is, convicted of it. And it had just happened. And so they threw these two episodes in right after it happened. The first one was with women. The next one was with men. And I went on there voluntarily, no money, and told my story. Now, how many men you know that got a checkered past go to the largest show in the world and expose themselves? I was 25 years old, no mentor, no team, no media training. So I was raw on there. People got the raw. They got the real. And it was me. It was a couple other guys who had done stuff in their past. My wife came with me. Me and my wife at that time had been married 2 years. Our marriage was healthy. And we had our son. He was 2 years old. No, he was about to be 2 years old because I went on the show March 19th, 2009. right after that show, I got in the limo with my wife, and I felt bad. I just was like, I could have took this to the grave like so many other men. Why did I expose myself? And I just felt it in my spirit, like, you can't help other people if you're not willing to expose yourself. You can't ride in like a knight in shining armor, like you come to save the world, like you blemish and spot free. So anybody got something to say about me, send them this video. Let them hear my story. See, a lot of people don't do their homework. A lot of people don't do their research, and they just lump you in with people just because they got an email or somebody wrote them about a life coach slept with their client, and then they just gonna, all life coaches with a following sleeping with their client. Better go on somewhere. Me, I got started. I was the first on doing it on a large scale, because, and it was no money to even from Oprah. I remember everybody called me after I got off Oprah, and they said, Tony, man, you lying. I remember my homeboy Rat Nine, Chance McGrady. He called me. He said, bro, you lying, bro. Man, how much they paid you? Man, how much they paid you? Because I know you lying, bro. I know you ain't never did nothing like that. Man, why you went on there and told that lie? I said, no, bro, that was me. Like, I went through that. That was real. I said, bro, I ain't get paid nothing. I ain't get paid. Man, you lying, bro. So you telling me you finna go on national television and tell your story and you ain't get paid? I said, no, I ain't get paid, bro. I said, man, I gotta do this because I'm trying to help. I'm trying to change the world, bro. I'm trying to touch lives. And nobody could understand it. Then so many men started calling, older men in their 40s and stuff, started calling me, hey, young blood, I did the same thing, man. I went through the same thing in a relationship I was just in. I went through that with my wife, man. Now we've been married 20 years. So many guys. And in my head, I'm like, well, why you ain't telling it? Why am I here the only one? Why you ain't saying nothing, man? Come on now, I need some help. Don't just let me be the bad guy. Don't just let me look like the monster. Like, tell your story. And that's what I'm thinking in my head, but I ain't say it to nobody. I was like, yeah, all right, man, I appreciate you, man. Thank you for sharing it. I appreciate you. And they'll say, hey, call me if you need anything. Call me if you need anything. But I was on an island. I was by myself. And I remember sitting in that limo with my wife, and she was rubbing on my thigh. She said, you such a man. She said, you such a man. Because she didn't know that. She didn't know that side of me. She didn't know that because I wasn't treating her like that. Oh, I got 20% left battery. She didn't know that side of me. I may have to plug in my phone, y'all, but if I plug my phone, the sound gonna change. So y'all forgive me. She didn't know that side of me. And I was removed from it. I was 25 years old telling a story about when I was 20 of being in a toxic relationship. And from there, I emailed Tyra Banks' producer because they had wrote me a couple times from me writing in. And they'll say, hey, Tony, we got this show. And it's like people showing their talents. We want you to come and you could just do a speaking thing, motivational speech. I was like, no, that's not for me. They called me about something else. And when the man was talking to me, what I saw in my face was a picture of a monkey, a cartoon monkey with red lipstick on. That's what I saw in my head. I'm like, they think I'm a show monkey. They think I want to just be on TV to be famous. So I had turned down invite after invite from Tyra Banks because it wasn't in my purpose. I wasn't trying to be famous. I'm trying to be impactful. I ain't trying to be successful. I'm trying to be significant. And so here it was. And so I emailed him. I said, hey, did you see me on Oprah? He said, yes, Tony, we saw you and you were amazing. Oprah didn't mention my book. So there was $0 from that. So he said, we want you to come on Tyra Banks with your book in hand. And I was like, oh, okay. He said, it was a Thursday. He said, can you be here Tuesday? Can you get to New York next Tuesday? We'll book your flight. I said, yeah, okay, I'll come. I went there. This was 2009. I remember the day I got there, it was Tuesday. They had Steve Harvey on the show that day recording his episode for Act Like a Lady, Think Like a Man. The irony. That here I was, a young man, 25 years old. I had been an author on love and relationships since 2007. I had wrote into the Steve Harvey Morning Show several times. I remember my homeboy calling me. He said, hey man, they just mentioned your book on Steve Harvey Morning Show. And I think it was because my pitch letters, I was writing letters to the Strawberry Letter. I was writing letters as somebody else and I was mentioning my name. That was my marketing tactic. And they would read the title of my book in the Strawberry Letter. And then they would answer the letter. I never heard it myself, but that's what I'm assuming it was. I never heard it. And they'll tell me, they mention your book on Strawberry Line. I'm like, for real? I'm like, I ain't hear nothing about that. It ain't sell no books, because I remember my royalty check after I went on Tyra Banks and they showed my book on TV. My royalty check was still 70 books. I had sold 70 books by myself in 2007, just selling to Facebook friends and family. And so I'm like, that TV don't even make you no money. So it still was no money. Even though my book was shown, I got $300 on my next royalty check. So I don't know if they left a zero off or what, but I remember talking to a real publisher later, and they was like, we've had authors go on Good Morning America and sell 34 books. So don't think it's strange. I was like, wow. So listen, it's not no whole lot of money. Ain't no money in this when you really get it out the mud. You got to be passionate about this, because you just ain't coming in and making six figures. You ain't coming in, oh, you rich. No, that ain't how it works. So it's 2009 when I went on Oprah and Tyra. I left Oprah and Tyra. A couple months later, I went on the 700 Club. They flew to Florida and did my story, but they talked about the street life, me being in the streets hustling. They took a different angle because they didn't want to do the toxic relationship angle, because it had been done twice around me. So they took the street life angle. So I went on 3 globally televised shows, made $0 from it. You're not paid to go on TV and tell your story. No new clients, no new exposure, none of that. After I went on those first two shows, my friend from high school, he said, hey man, you should get on this thing called Twitter. I said, all right, I'm gonna get on this thing called Twitter. He said, you should get on this thing called Twitter. I said, okay, I'll do it. So I got on Twitter, and it was like, oh, eating eggs and sausage this morning for breakfast. That's what what Twitter was back then. And I had 34 followers on Twitter. 34 followers. And eventually, a little bit into it, I said, this boring, this stupid. Like, I want to motivate people. I want to change the world. I want to touch lives. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to post quotes. I'm going to just post quotes all day. I started posting quotes all day. And then eventually one day I said, I'm thinking about doing a youth summit with Alicia Keys. And I mentioned one of my homeboys from college who was a rapper. And Alicia Keys started following me. And she later unfollowed me years later. I just probably was tweeting too much for her. But when she followed me, everybody used to check who their favorite celebrity was following. She had 350,000 followers. And so 3 weeks into her following me, she retweeted me. When she retweeted me, it sent me a couple thousand followers. And so then every day I was tweeting wisdom all day. So now my message was a retweetable message. And at that time, it was really just me and Rev Run tweeting like that. And then come to find out, whoever was running Rev Run page was actually stealing my tweets. And they would change 1 or 2 words. And I remember looking at the page and I was like, this tweet sounds real familiar. I said, man, I respect Rev. He really living right. He must really be talking to God, because he's saying the same thing I'm saying. Lo and behold, they was stealing my tweets. They were using my page as inspiration, because then one day they tweeted my tweet verbatim. I guess they got lazy and just tweeted it, just copy and pasted it. And I responded to it and I say, that's my original tweet. Don't try me with that Robert Greene Laws of Power mess. And I remember people started DMing, man, you just went at a giant. You shouldn't have did that. And then I remember Rev Ron account tweeted after that, when you mess up, fess up, at Tony Gaskins, basically saying sorry. And then tweeted the quote again and put at Tony Gaskins at the end of it. That sent me some more people. And then from there, it was Alicia Keys. Rev Ron did that one time, never mentioned my page again. And then P. Diddy started posting my quotes, but he'll just put TG at the end of it. He never added me. Then, Missy Elliott, Trina the rapper, Tyrese the singer, Carrie Hilson, all these artists started coming and retweeting my messages. And that's how my following started to grow. So it grew from 34 followers organically From 34 followers, I got the attention of Alicia Keys, and then she retweeted me. And then from there, it organically built. And then it was 25,000, it was 50,000. This was 2009, 2010. In 2010, my following was growing into the thousands. I remember a lady wrote me in the DM, and she said, "Hey Tony, I do PR for a church, and we doing a relationship summit." Because every night from 10 to 10:30, I would post relationship tweets, and they would get like 400 to 800 retweets per tweet, and that's a lot of retweets for 2010. And I remember they ranked the top 100 black men on Twitter, and I was ranked number 25 out of the top 100. And I was working on a job making $9.50, and they ranked me as the 25th most retweeted, most influential black man on Twitter. And it was 2010 or 11 when that came out. And I was working a job making $9.50 an hour. My last W-2 that I saw from that job was $19,900. And everything I was doing in the love and relationship space from 2007, I was not making a dime. I was not making a dime because I really ain't had no coaching clients. My book wasn't making no money. So you couldn't even count the money that was coming in. And I still was in the trenches going. I still was going. And from there, it was, the lady wrote me and she said, "Tony, we doing this retreat. Would you come speak?" She had never heard me speak. I had no YouTube videos. I did not have YouTube in 2010. And I said, "Yeah, I'll come speak. You know, what do you want me to speak on? We want you to speak on healthy relationships. How long?" She said, "Just 30 minutes. And I say, "So what is the pay?" And she said, $1,500. I was making $1,200 a month at the group home. She said $1,500. My background on Twitter was a picture of me and Oprah. I was sitting on a chair and Oprah was in her chair and I was on the stage. That was my background picture. So that gave me authority, even though a lot of people did not see that episode and did not know that I was exposing myself, telling my story. They looked at it as Oprah interviewing me to stamp me. Only stamp Oprah gave me is at the end of her thing, she said, "Tony has dedicated his life to helping others not make the same mistake that he's made." That was the only thing that she said on my behalf. This is the first time on a regular video across the hour. I'm gonna plug my phone in now. This sound changing on y'all. Y'all got to forgive me. Y'all got to forgive me for this sound. But got to charge my phone because it's gonna die on me. And from there, I went and I did that speaking engagement. I think it was in May. It was $1,500. I did okay. It was not that good. That was my first real speaking engagement. That was my first real paid. My only other speaking engagement was in 2007 for $65 when I pitched myself to the event planner at Bethune-Cookman University. And she said, "How much you charge?" And I told her, "Give me $65. Who doing it for the money? Who doing it for the money? On this next one, I didn't even get him a price. She told me $1,500. I would blow. I would have went for free. She told me $1,500. She didn't know that I didn't do that. She didn't know because I was positioning myself as a servant. I was positioning myself as an author, as a coach, and as a speaker because that's what I wanted to do. I was speaking it into existence. And so I went and I spoke for $1,500. And then after that, I remember a young lady, she was retweeting me. And I had a rule that if I saw you retweet me 2 times, I would DM you and say thank you. Men and women. It wasn't nothing fresh and nasty. Men and women. And she said, "Tony, thank you for what you do. My aunt works for the NBA and the NFL. I would love to connect you with her because I think you'll be a great mentor for those young men." I said, "Okay, let's set up the call." I remember being at the group home working, leaving out the group home and going to the backyard because they live in a house, going to the backyard and having a 3-way call with this young lady who in her bio, she had like management working with like, you know, TI Company and other management in Atlanta in that field. And so her bio looked respectable. And she put me on the phone with this lady. I thought it was going to be like a doctor talking real proper. And the lady was just as country as me. And she said, "Baby, and we talked, and she told the NBA Players Association about me. The assistant to the president of the Players Association called me, and I remember being in New York at my homeboy house, who was playing for the New York Knicks, the one who made it out. He was playing for the New York Knicks at that time, and I remember being at his, high rise with his brother, and doing that three-way call with the lady and the lady from the NBPA, and she said, we do an event for the top 100 high school basketball players. We heard about your tweets. That's all they had heard of me is tweets. They had never heard me speak, never saw me speak. She said, I know you used to more than this, but all we can offer is $2,500 to speak. I said, well, how long you want me to speak? She said, 20 minutes. I was like, wow. See, what you got to understand is this was 2010. I had been serving 3 years for nothing, for no money. I did not know a single, I'll be honest with you, if I knew another relationship teacher or speaker, I didn't know of another one. There wasn't another one. And then, so I said, okay, I'll do it. I went and I spoke 20 minutes. I just spoke from the heart. I felt at home because I was talking to athletes. Hey, baby, if you need me, let me know. You don't need me? Okay. My next call like 1:30. I got a coach at 1:30. I spoke to them athletes, and when I finished, the president of the NBPA, stand for National Basketball Players Association, he said to me, hey, man, we do something with the NBA rookies, too. I want you to come speak to them. He called me and talked to me about it. I had spoke to the top 100 high school basketball players about choices, decisions, and consequences. They gave me the title. I didn't make the title up. They gave me the title. I spoke on it, and then he said, I want you to speak to the rookies about embracing manhood. He said, now the pay is different. It's only $1,500. So now here I'm speaking to guys who don't get paid for $2,500. Then I'm going to speak to guys who, some of them getting paid millions for $1,500. I accepted the gig because it wasn't about the money. So now I'm talking to men. So see, people think, oh, you just about the women. You just preying on the women. You preying on. I'm now working and sowing into the life of young men. The top 100 high school basketball players and the 60 NBA draft picks. Half of them draft picks became my mentees. And I did that from 2010 to 2016. And every year, half of them would get my phone number and be writing me. And some of them I still talk to this day. In between their games, they play a good game, bad game, we texting to this day. And some people think, oh, it's just about, oh, he's just targeting women. He's just targeting women. No. I help who listen. I help who won't help. And my YouTube happens to be 95% women, so YouTube tells me, but that is because I am a man and I'm teaching about the crazy stuff men do, the negative stuff men do. And so from there, I'm still going back to a job. I remember a young lady saying, I remember overhearing her saying, well, he must ain't doing too much. He still coming here to work. They were talking about me behind my back when I was walking in. He must ain't doing too much. He's still working here. Because I was making $9.50 an hour. And here I was, done went on Oprah, done went on Tyra, done working with the NBA, the NBA Players Association, speaking in other states. So here I am speaking now. And in a matter of a few months, them 3 speaking engagements came to $7,000. So $7,000 from speaking that year. Who living off that? You living off $7,000 a year? Oh, I thought it was just all about the money. I thought it was all about just praying on people. You living off that? And guess what? The speaking engagement, it came from a church where the people in the audience at the church were over 50 years old. Everybody in there was over 50. So it went from young women my age that was donating or giving me money. That was a speaking engagement for a church, and they had multiple speakers. Same thing at the NBA top 100. Same thing for the NBA with multiple speakers. And I'm being paid by organizations, not by people. Not by people. I'm being paid by organizations who touching millions of dollars, some billions of dollars, and not by people. The people, I wasn't asking the people for nothing. And at this time when I'm online, I wasn't even promoting my book. I ain't even promote my book that I wrote into. I wasn't even promoting the book. And then in 2011, I left my job. My last day on my job was March 13th, 2011. I had turned 27 March 8th, 2011. And I'm going to tell you how I left my job. I left my job because my friend that told me I should get on Twitter in 2009, he watched me build my Twitter following to 25 or 50,000. And he was watching me. And he came to me and he said, what would it take for you to go to the next level? I said, man, if I could get off these people's job for 1 year, I'd never have to work for anybody again. I use my natural gifts. And he said, I give you $20,000 for 20% of your company. And I was like, I say, give me $35,000. Because I needed me a little bit of play money. I needed to be able to treat my wife for being on this ride with me and supporting me and believing in me. I got my phone plugged in and my computer ain't even plugged in. I'm thinking I'm charging my phone. Why do I have my phone in? So when I was charging, y'all forgive me. Okay. Now hopefully this thing charging. I could have been sitting here with the good mic in. Y'all got to forget his sound now. Hey, it is what it is now. Forget his sound now. Hey, calm down. And so he shot me a check. He sent me $2,000 because I needed $2,000 to pay a lady to do a book proposal that I wanted to submit to literary agents to get a real book deal. Paid her that $2,000. Then he sent me a check for $33,000. And I took that check, I put my 2-week notice in, and I got off my job. And then from there, this is what I took and did. See, a lot of people think that life coaches and relationship coaches, that we just preying on people. That we just preying on people and we just going to the bank. That we just raking in money off of people. This is what I took and did. I had a book, it wasn't making no money. I started author consulting. Had nothing to do with relationships. Started author consulting, helping people publish their book. I saw a guy who had published a book just like I did, and he was charging people $5,000 to teach them how to publish their book. I said, that's too much money. I said, I don't think it's worth all that. I cut it in half and I charged $2,500 to be an author consultant, to walk somebody from start to finish, do their outline for them, show them how to publish, help them get it edited, get it formatted, do everything, walk them through the process, everything, $2,500. That was a stream of income. The other thing I started doing was ghostwriting. Had nothing to do with relationships, nothing to do with relationship coaching. Ghostwriting, the first book I wrote was for an NFL player, and it was free. The next book I wrote was for a lady who found me. She had become a millionaire, and she heard me at an event, a free event that I spoke at, and it was $1,300. Came out to $2,300, wrote her book. And then from there, I started writing books, and maybe the next one was $5,000. And then I Googled how to be a ghostwriter. I Googled ghostwriting contract. I found a man. Now see, the guy who said you could be a life coach was a white guy. This was not in the black race. There was nobody that I knew black doing this. It was a white guy. The guy I saw doing the author consulting, there was a white guy. So it's women and men that's making people afraid of black coaches, and we fighting against ourselves. Making people afraid of black coaches and making people hate black coaches when really it was the white guy getting to the bag. It was the white guy getting the money. And so I heard the guy say $5,000. I started charging $2,500 because I said that's too much money he's charging. Then the ghostwriting, I Googled it, found the contract. This guy ghostwrite books for people, and he charged $50,000. He charged $50,000, up to $50,000. His starting rate is $20,000. I said, man, that's too much money. So I started charging $10,000 to ghostwrite a book. $5,000 to get started, write 2 chapters, send it. If the client approve it, I write the rest of the book. At the end of the writing, they pay the other $5,000. So at that price point, I was writing books for NFL players. I wrote a book for a WNBA champion. I wrote a book for an Olympic gold medalist swimmer. Wrote a book for, people who made millions of dollars in the industry. I was ghostwriting. $10,000. I would write 4, maybe 5 books in a year. That's $40,000, $50,000. On my job, when I left in 2011, the last W-2 I had seen was from 2010, and it was $19,900. So I started earning a living using my gifts, just like my mother spoke over my life when I was a young boy writing poems. She said, baby, you gonna make money writing. And she always told me, you need to be writing, you need to be writing. Because before I met my wife, I started a modeling troupe to where they would go to the club and be the eye candy and VIP called Dazzling Dimes. I probably made $500 from that. And the same friend that told me I need to get on Twitter, that invested $35,000 into my business, was the same friend that gave me $900 when I was doing the Dazzling Dimes. My wife made me get that up. But you know how like club promoters, they still got them today. They still got them today in just different names. It was a big one in Atlanta. I can't remember the name of it. It was a big one. It was in Miami. But I was ahead of the curve. I was doing that before I even knew it. And it was my homeboy idea. My homeboy told me to do it. And so I had tried prepaid legal. I tried Visalis, the multi-level marketing. I did prepaid legal. I made $199. I did Visalis, which was like shakes. It cost me $500 to start. I made $0. So I tried multi-level marketing. Remember, I had already been a drug dealer now for about 5 years of my life, not consistently, but off and on, from 18 to 23. The last time I sold something, I was 23. And remember, I went on over 25. So here I was. Now from having a following on Twitter, I was able to start coaching a little bit more, but not a lot. So as coaching, I was $25 an hour, and I was $35 an hour, I was $45 an hour, I was $55 an hour, then I was $75 an hour, then I had to come back to 45 because the business wouldn't be consistent. Coaching it was not consistent back then because coaching really wasn't a thing. Nobody really was doing it. And so here I was coaching probably at the most I would coach, I have a good week and coach 8 people. It wasn't a lot of money. At $50 an hour, so what you making? $400 that week? But it wasn't consistent. And then, but with being on Twitter, I started getting speaking engagements. And majority of them, they was $1,500, $2,500. Some would go up to $5,000. And so this was 2011. I remember the first time that I paid attention to my taxes. I claimed I had made $36,000 the first year that I paid attention to it. I had an office space that I had got because I started a nonprofit to help the youth find their gifts at a young age. And I remember raising $16,000 off the bat for my nonprofit. And so this had to be like 2011. And I remember raising $16,000. That was from 4 donors. A pro athlete, a lady who was married to a wealthy guy, a wealthy man, and the lady told her friend who was a lawyer, $16,000. I used portion of that seed money to get me an office space to work out of. And I remember that year, the lady across from me did my taxes. I made $36,000. The next year in 2012, I remember doing my taxes, I made $147,000 from ghostwriting, from speaking engagements, from author consulting. Book sales was not a thing. Book sales really wasn't making no money yet. In 2012, I released another book. I dropped another book. This was my 3rd book at that time because I had wrote one in 2010 called Reclaiming the Youth, Reclaiming Our Youth. Talking about helping young people get on the right path, identify their gifts and market their gifts and use their talents. And I took that out of print though. So it's not out there right now.
And then 2012, I dropped my book, Mrs. Right. And Mrs. Right just was a culmination of all the questions I was getting. And I gave a guide from a man of what it takes for a man to see a woman as a wife. So for a woman to become a wife and remain a wife, what men looking at and what men respect. I gave that male perspective because it wasn't being done. There were no relationship coaches. I remember probably around that time, 2012-ish, probably around that time, I was 27 in 2011, 28, dropped that book. I made $147,000 a year. Just using my gifts. It was not from coaching. There was no monetization either. There was no monetization. I was only on Twitter. And then in 2012, I started the same friend that told me, which was a white guy. This is what I'm trying to tell you. Black people were not doing what I was doing. I did not know a single black person doing what I was doing. Now, they probably was out there, but they did not come across my radar. The only person that was doing what I felt was close to what I was doing was Rev Ron. But he didn't have a book at the time, and he didn't do one-on-one coaching. And so that was the genesis of it. And then here you have 2012, I dropped that book. And because I had been giving since 2009 on Twitter, 3 years I just gave. And I sold books. I probably sold, 5,000, 10,000 books. Could have been a few thousand in that first year. So I earned $7 a book sale through Amazon, I think. What I forgot is how I made that 36,000. In 2010, I did a group coaching. And I'm going to tell you how I did it. For the Love of Ray J was a TV show. I saw For the Love of Ray J. I spent off that title and I created a course called For the Love of Me. Because the same gentleman, the white gentleman who said, if you wrote a book, you could be a life coach. He later said, if you are a coach, you can do group coaching. So I went to my graphic designer who did my website and I said, hey man, make me a page and put a PayPal button on there for $75 and put this content on there. I had 12 weeks and I used freeconferencecall.com and I tweeted that out. I had about 125 people sign up and it was 3 payments of $25. And a good amount of the people payment declined on the second or third month. So I ain't make all of that. But they sign up and that right there probably made, I feel like, $5,000 to $10,000. And I was group coaching. I would teach for a half hour and then I would open up the line for Q&A for a half hour. I learned that from a gentleman from another race. That's who was really getting to the bag. And I would see what they was charging and I would cut their price because I felt like they was charging too much. And truthfully, they were saying so many ways like, listen, this is about the money. I'm about the money. I'm trying to be in Tahiti on a vacation. That was their kind of pitch. Like, look, you can make great money, crazy money doing this. But for me, I was doing it out of purpose. And the money, that was the byproduct of me living my purpose. And that allowed me to take care of my family. I still was not making enough money at first, though, to take care of my family when I started this out. So when I hit 147,000, that was like, it was mind-boggling to me because I probably was 29, something like that. And my goal was to be earning 6 figures by the age of 30, and I had no clue how I would do it. I had no clue how I would do it. And I just used my gifts. So it was not about coaching women. It was not, I never tweeted, follow me. I never tweeted, tell everybody to follow me. That was the thing what people would do. I never asked for a follower. I never begged for a follower. I've never done a GoFundMe. I've never done no fundraiser. I've never done a raffle. And for me, it was not about the money because I was working for God. So the money was a byproduct. I knew God was going to meet my needs. I knew that was coming. I knew it was coming. So when I touched 147,000, I feel like 2012, I think I got on the same friend who told me to get on Twitter. He said start a Facebook page. He started the page for me, so he was running the page. He was posting picture quotes with a quote with a background. He had typos in some of it. I said, man, let me run the page because you messing up my brand. I tweeted my Facebook link. I say, hey, join me on Facebook. I built up quickly 30,000 likes on Facebook in 2012. At the end of, I think it was 2013, my page, I coached a celebrity. And I think she reposted me on her Facebook page. Reposted my Facebook page to her Facebook page. And it kind of got me more likes and more views. At the end of 2012, I think my Facebook started to go viral. By the end of 2013, I had went from 30,000 likes on Facebook to 1 million likes organically. I was posting 2 to 4 quotes a day. When my page grew from 30,000 to 1 million, and listen, this was just me serving. It was no money in me posting quotes. If you Google Tony Gaskins quotes and click on images, you'll see all of my quotes that I done posted over the years. People started compiling my quotes. People started stealing my quotes. Pastors was using my quotes. Businesses was using my quotes. I saw PayPal doing commercials with my quotes. My quotes went viral. It came from my heart. It was poetic wisdom that God gave me. I wrote it on the fly. My mama had spoke this over my life. It went viral. It was God's work. I did not have a team, no publicist, no manager, no assistant. I just was showing up. I was in the paint and I was being consistent. That was it. That was it. And from there, it just grew. And by the end of 2013, I had 1 million likes on Facebook. My page, at 500,000 likes, my page was reaching 20 million people a week. I remember going to speak to the top 100 basketball players, and the trainer that was there that stretched the players out before their games, he came up to me and he said, man, let me show you my Facebook page. He scrolled his Facebook feed, and I saw my quotes like 20 times and him scrolling a few times. He said, this how much I see you. He said, this how viral you are. He said, this is insane. I had never seen it from somebody else's page. I was like, that is sickening. I would hate me too. If you see somebody face all day long, you're going to stop liking that person. So that's what happened. A lot of people stopped liking me, and they thought that it just was, I was not getting paid from that. All I was doing was just posting. And then when it went viral, people started Googling me. When they Googled me, they found my book, Mrs. Right. They found my book, What Dad Never Told a Little Girl, but they didn't buy that one. They just bought Mrs. Right. Then it was 2012, I think it was, that I did my first event. And it was in Atlanta. I sold 61 tickets. I charged $35 a ticket. I sold 61 tickets. I broke even. It cost me $22,000 to put the event on. I paid the event planners $1,000. The room cost me $1,000. Then you had whatever taxes, fees, my travel, hotel, and I sold 61 tickets. You do the math. 61 times 35. I remember the event planner wrote me and she said, "Tony, you broke even." I said, "Okay." It was not about the money. 61 times 35. $2,135. So I broke even on the event. I actually lost money because I had to travel up there, get a hotel, all that. So $2,100, that was my first event. I did it by myself, meaning I was the only speaker. It was just the next step. I heard the guy that was kind of giving all the game away. Who was giving all the game away. He's still doing it to this day. His name's Steve Harrison. He still give away the game. I'm still on the mailing list today. He's still teaching the same stuff though, so I don't need it no more. But I started doing that. Then I started trying to just go to different cities. I'm paying out of my pocket. Every city, I'm losing money basically, or breaking even, but barely breaking even, but really I'm losing money. A lot of times losing $1,000, $2,000. Then eventually, around 2015-ish, because of my Facebook, I was able to sell a lot more tickets. I was by myself. This was at this time, 2015, nobody was touring. Nobody was touring. The other relationship coaches, they wasn't out there touring in 2013 or 14 when I was doing it. They were not there yet. It's comedians now that's killing it, that's doing amazing, like Kev on stage. He was following me on Twitter. He's been following me on Twitter way since back in the day, but he wasn't doing tours then. None of that right there was happening. And so here it was, now I'm touring. So I remember probably 2015, I feel like it was, or 2016. I remember looking at my Eventbrite, and I had sold $330,000 worth of tickets. And see, this was when, but it had been since 2007. So see, this was when people really started to look. And I'm going to tell you what happened. When I kind of started to build and my page started to blow up in 2013 on Facebook, every black person kind of seen my face or my name at some point in time, because I was reaching 20 million people a week. It was 90% black people. We only got X amount of million black people in the U.S. So here I am reaching these people. So what happened was, people started recognizing me. I remember walking into Walgreens, the young lady behind the counter recognized me. Oh my goodness, you Tony Gaskins. I remember being in the drive-thru at Wendy's. The lady handed me my bag and said, oh my goodness, you Tony Gaskins. And so now around this time, I started getting invited on TV. I was coaching a celebrity client, R&B singer, K. Michelle. She invited me on her show on VH1. 2 million people watched the show. That exposed my brand. Open the door. Why don't you let him do it? All you do is flip it up and pull it down. Y'all hold on. Now see, when you're a queen, you interrupt your husband when he's doing the video. When you're a queen now, that's what queens do. And so, had to hit that Starbucks. Now listen to me. I remember seeing that number on them sales. And at that point, I'm going to tell you what happened. I remember a young lady, she wrote me. And she said, hey, Tony, my boyfriend wants to do what you do. He wants to do what you do. His name is such. I ain't going to say the person's name just because, this video going to live on for life. I don't know if the man want to be mentioned. I looked at his page. His tweets was original. Again, he was a writer. He was a poet, just like me. And he was around 22 years old, just like when I got started. And I saw his tweets was original, and I retweeted him. I say, hey, everybody follow such and such. And he went from like 500 followers to like 1,500 followers overnight. My stamp did that for him because it was so many celebrities who watching my page and follow me. The ones who didn't really like me because I had exposed myself, my past, like Rihanna, she went through something with Chris Brown. So I'm sure she watched that live episode that Oprah did. I told my story. Even though it was nowhere near as bad as what her and Chris went through, she started supporting and retweeting this other speaker, this other relationship love guy. Rihanna started posting him. So guess what? He blew up. And Angela Simmons started posting him. Angela couldn't post me because I had went off on her daddy on Twitter, which she could have been running his page. I don't know, but Angela never posted me. But for me, it was Missy Elliott, Carrie Hilson, Trina, P. Diddy, Tyrese. But now for him, it was Rihanna, Angela Simmons, and then all the same people. And then he was more secular. So he'll curse every now and then. He never talked about God. You know, he was more secular. He drank, you know, he'll pose with some alcohol. He was okay with having alcoholic sponsors. So he went and got into that industry to where he had the rappers and he had people like that, you know, managing him, supporting him, party promoters, supporting him, managing him. So he went that route. I stayed by myself. I've never had a manager. I've never had a publicist. He ended up getting a book deal. He had a writer that he wrote it with. I got a book deal. The guy who signed me to my book deal is the same one who signed him to his book deal. He had signed him a few years before me, and my book still came out before the other gentleman. And the guy asked me, "Do you got a writer?" I said, "No, I write my own books. And so that didn't come till 2017 though. I'm ahead of myself. So 2015, 2016, my Facebook went viral. So my income crossed 200,000 the next year, then it crossed 300,000, crossed 400,000, and it was up around $500,000 a year. And here I was, I don't know, 31, 32, you know, 30 years old. And what was selling was, how I was making that kind of money, I really don't know. Oh, I was touring. Just how artists go and they make their money, except for it was me. So I'll be making 5,000 to 10,000. I remember I had an event, the room cost me $1,000 and I did $28,000 in ticket sales. That's $27,000. Probably profited $25,000. It didn't happen like that a lot. I only had like 2 or 3 of those in a year. That's how you see people like, you know, like the comedians and stuff that's touring. That's how you'll see them go from Lee's jeans to True Religion jeans. You'll see them go from a little small apartment in a background to the whole house when they start touring. That's how you earn. And see me, I wasn't targeting women. I used to tell all my graphic designers, do not put no purple. Don't put no purple on my flyer. Don't put no pink on my flyer. I want men to be able to come out too. I was not targeting women. I was not saying women follow me. I just was speaking from a male perspective, and women listen more than men. And so that's what happened. I didn't choose my followers. I didn't beg for followers. I didn't do that. It's just how it happened. And I had nothing to do with it. So I said, Lord, if I done hurt so many women, if I done broke so many hearts, if I done been a dog and you calling me to heal in that area, then that's where I'm going to heal at. And my tickets to my events was not $100, $200. My tickets was $20, $25. The most probably on the ticket was $55, and that was VIP, and it come with a book or 2 books. So for $55, people telling me, Tony, your price too cheap. By then, my coaching, I had went up to $100 or $150 because my time was shrinking, and I started ghostwriting a lot more. So now I may write 5, 6, 7 books. So now that's $60,000, $70,000. And then what happened was you start getting endorsements. So you start getting, I remember I did a deal with a company to do a commercial with them because they saw me online. That year that I made that kind of money, the company paid me $200,000. So $200,000 of my income that particular year, I can't remember what year it was, 16, 17 or what it was, came from an endorsement. Had nothing to do with relationship coaching. And then another bulk of my money was ghostwriting. Then the other bulk of my money was author consulting. So here, and then the other bulk was being paid to come speak. So I remember at 29 years old, I was paid $10,000 to speak in Africa, Johannesburg, Africa. A year or 2 later, after that, I was paid $10,000 to speak in Africa, in Nairobi, Kenya. And then a lot of my engagements, I was being paid $5,000 to $7,500. I might get booked 4 in a month. I may have 4 or more in a month. So that's $20,000 in a month. That's $240,000 in a year speaking. And as I was speaking on business. Some of it was relationships. Some of it was on a panel. It was all kind of stuff. But it was because I was serving for free online, giving insight and wisdom every day on a daily basis. I was tweeting up to 17 times a day. And I got on YouTube in 2011. From 2011 to 2020, 2020, from 2011 to 2019, YouTube paid me $250 a month. The most I had ever seen from YouTube, like $400 in a month. I just started taking YouTube seriously in September of last year because I made up in my mind that I wanted to be home more. Because after speaking and touring, I was gone so much. I was gone so much from speaking and touring. I was gone every week. I was flying out. And then in 2015, while my page was viral and everything was going, it was viral. I got an offer from an NBA team to be their team life coach full time. They in another state. So I had to fly. They flew me every week from Florida to their state. I signed that I would never say the team name, never say any of that because they wanted to be confidential. Because I was the only life coach in the NBA. No other team had a life coach in the NBA, like a life coach, meaning not a sports psychologist, a life coach, which is a term that somebody made up. You could call me servant. You could call me speaker. You could call me talking head. You call me what you want. I ain't make up the term life coach. I just share wisdom from my life experience. And if you call it a life coach, okay, that's what it's called. So I just use the term that the world used. And when they did that, that took 90% of my capacity. It took 90% of my capacity. I did that 2015, from like September of 2015 through like April of 2016. That right there hurt my ministry so bad because I no longer was posting regularly on Facebook and Twitter because my mind was wrapped up in this group of 15 men who was millionaires and life on the brink. I'm ministering to them. I'm trying to mentor them. And it was so many demons. It was so many spirits in that locker room on that team. It drained me. It broke me down. It stole all my thunder. It got me caught up in mess, in drama, in gossip. It got me caught up in so much toxicity in the industry. It started to ruin my name in the industry because I was in so much mess, being drugged into their mess and being used as a scapegoat, being drugged into their mess. It was so toxic. I tried halfway through the season, I tried to resign. The guy who hired me, he said, Tony, just get us through the end of the season. I stayed on to the end of the season, and we parted ways at the end of the season. And I had signed a 3-year deal, but I was able to be let go at the end of the year. I went my way, went their way, and they were like, well, we still want you to work with players one-on-one and still come in and speak every now and then. I said, all right, cool, we'll do it. And at that point, because I took that job, I lost my gig with the NBPA. I spoke with them one more time, but I wasn't allowed to speak to the rookies that year in 2016 because I had been working with a team, so they had took me off the speaking thing. So I hadn't spoke. So that was a large part of my purpose, working with these young men that got influence and they reaching and touching the world. And I was able to help and reach them and touch their life. And so from there, 2017, Facebook changed. From 2017, 2018, Facebook changed. They cut the reach. And my reach went from 20 million a week to like 500,000 a week. And I really stopped posting on Facebook. I really don't post on Facebook like that. And I was just posting. I got on Instagram late. When I got on Instagram, the gentleman that I mentioned to you earlier, when I got on Instagram, he had over 400,000 followers when I got on Instagram with 0. And probably by 2016 or so, my following had caught his and passed his. And, he went through stuff, got in a relationship with a celebrity. It fell apart. So that hit all the blogs. And so people stopped really trusting him and believing in what he was talking about. And then there was a couple others that popped up. And I just don't align myself with people. I remember it was a few other coaches. They went on a tour. And I had never met any of them personally. And I don't watch them. I don't watch other coaches because I don't want to be sharing anybody else's message. And so I don't watch nobody. I watch God. I watch the throne of God. And then I speak from there. And so I remember the guy who put it together, he reached out to my booking and he offered me $1,000 to speak at the event with them. At this time, I'm an authority in relationship coaching at that time. Meaning I had a large following, one of the largest followings as a relationship coach. He offered me $1,000 to sit on a panel with other coaches. And I'm like, I don't know y'all. I don't know. The guy who wrote in, I'm like, I don't see a wife. I don't see his wife. The other guy I don't see his wife. The other guy on the panel, I don't see his wife. I'm like, I'm married and I'm faithful. And I praise my wife. I post my wife. So I just didn't see us as the same. I didn't see us as the same. And I just don't like sitting on panels with people because I feel like panels bring more confusion than clarity. I feel like every speaker has a message. And if your message from God, that's your message. And you shouldn't mix your message with other people's message because people see things differently. So if I say save yourself until marriage, and then somebody else say, well, I don't think you should really save yourself until marriage because that's not realistic, and we on the same panel, what the audience gonna walk away with? If I say don't tell a man that you saving yourself until marriage, let him find out when he try you and you turn him down, and somebody else say tell the man that you saving yourself so that he knows and you ain't got to waste your time if he want to leave, we saying two different things. So now you bringing more confusion than you bringing clarity. And so, and a lot of women, I'll be honest with you, women eat up anything. And it's sad. And this is the thing. Even the people who trying to expose relationship coaches and pastors and stuff like that, a lot of them people can't even tell the difference between the real and the fake. I remember the young lady that she blew up. She got a book deal. She signed with Shonda Rhimes for a show. She had a blog. Awesome Lovey or something like that. She lumped me in with some coaches that she felt was fake. And I remember writing her years later, I say, from what you did, it really hurt me because I'm married, I'm faithful, I love my wife, I live what I preach, and I'm working out of purpose. I've been doing this since I was 22 years old and there was no money involved in it. I ain't make no money as a relationship coach, like real money, until like 30, 31, 32. That's over 8 years. And she said, I'm sorry, I apologize. I'm going to delete that blog post that I did on you. And I'm a new person, I'm a changed person. I'm not, that's why I was young and immature. And I respected that. She deleted it. And I respected that because she lumped me in because she thought we all the same. We not all the same. You got to look at a person's life. Like a lot of times, like what my wife said, she said a lot of times people may think I'm like other guys who don't show their wife, but they might not show their wife for the same reason I don't show mine. I mean, I show mine, I post mine all the time, but my wife don't come on here because she don't want to be a coach. And just because people say, oh, bring your wife on, I'm not going to force her to do that. If she don't feel like that's her calling, she say maybe one day she'll do it. So I'm going to let her do it when she's ready to do it, because it's a lot that come with this. You being talked about, you being cursed out, you being belittled. And see, a lot of people, they operate from the wrong place. A lot of people, they come and they speaking. A lot of people that's got a voice, they still hurting. That's why they curse like a sailor. They attack people. Their whole business is about talking bad about other people all the time. And it's because they still hurting. They got abused, they got cheated on, they got did wrong, and they have not healed from it. So now they come to bring division to make everybody hate all men, and to hate black men, and to hate black men who got a voice. And then the people who they feel like is not, the people who they not jealous of, because see, if they could look at you and they could see that you blessed, they could see that you earning. And I'm going to tell you what I did now. I remember sitting down and I said, look, I want to earn while I'm asleep. I want to earn while I'm asleep. Because I need to be able to have time with my family. That's why I left my job. I need to have time with my family. And I remember, I don't got to coach till 30 more minutes, so I'm gonna be talking because it's from the heart today. It's the longest video I ever do. My phone might cut off, might run out of storage. I don't know, cause I need a new phone. I still ain't get that new phone I told y'all about. But here I was, I said I want to earn. And so people look and they'll say, oh, they making so much money. It's all about the money. What people didn't realize, when they thought it was all about the money, I was making $0 from relationship coaching. My money, I was working a job, full-time job, and nobody knew it. 2009, 2010, 2011, I was on a full-time job, 40 hours a week, and none of my audience on Twitter knew it. I was going to work, and I had 50,000 Twitter followers. People thought that if you got that many followers back then, they thought you was a millionaire. For some reason, they thought that just equated to money, and it didn't. And so guess what? The young men that came up after me, some of them started being relationship coaches because they thought it was money in it. And see, this is the thing. I had a Maserati, and you could see the Maserati logo in the seat. I had, I got a pool that it looked like a resort, but what they don't realize is that did not come from relationship coaching. See, when my friend gave me that $35,000, my friend is a multi-millionaire. He will be a billionaire. His family is a $1 billion family. So God strategically sent him to me to be the wind beneath my wings, to be an earth angel. So he carried me. When I was making no money, he carried me. And that's what got me to the lifestyle that I had, that people saw online, that if they were looking hard enough and they saw a luxury car, or they saw a luxury watch, or they saw a nice house, a nice background, a lot of people didn't realize that I was in business, doing business deals with multi-millionaires. So I was doing business deals because I had a company, and I started another company when I brought in a partner. And then from then, I went and started 9 more companies. I was doing business deals, 7-figure deals with multi-millionaires that had nothing to do with relationship coaching, had nothing to do with that. I was doing business. You hear what I'm saying? We started a real estate investment company. We started a media company. We started a publishing company. We started an events planning company, an event company. We started a nonprofit, started 2 nonprofits. I was doing business. And that's where people was, so young guys, they was looking, and they were like, man, that's a Maserati. It was like, oh man, he making money from coaching, from talking about love and relationship. Love and relationship, honestly, for me, was free. That was just passion work. There wasn't no money in that. That was passion work. And then in 2017, I signed a 6-figure book deal. So that's 6 figures. I signed a 6-figure book deal in 2017. I got paid multiple 6 figures by a company to be in a commercial. So now you seeing money come in, people could look and they could see my wife got a Chanel purse. Chanel purse cost $5,000. She don't show it, she don't post it. They might look at the seats in a car and say, oh, that's a luxury car. But they don't realize that you don't make that kind of money coaching. You don't make that kind of money coaching one-on-one. You don't do that. Because even today at $300 an hour, I got to charge $300 an hour because I got over 3 million followers. So if I charge any less, I won't be able to breathe. Next month, I'm not coaching next month. I took next month off. If I was doing it for the money, who you know take off a month? Who you know take off a month of work? Who you know? Because that's not where my money, the majority of my money coming from. So I could take off from coaching. And I don't just coach on relationships. A lot of my clients is branding and business coaching and author consulting. So right now, I'm signing up. Last month, I signed up 4 people, I think, for author consulting. And I just got to talk to them 1 time a week. So that's 4 hours a week. They pay $2,500. That's $10,000. So see, a lot of times people get it twisted. And right now, I got a real estate investment company. I got a consulting company. I got a media company. I got a nonprofit. I got a publishing company. I got a tech company. I start so much business, I forget. Right now, I'm drawing a blank. I can't even remember the other company. So I just ran off, see it coming. Now this right here, my mentor.life, I started this because I realized as a coach, I can't help everybody. I can't help everybody. So these coaches, but they only paying $20 a month, and you can cancel anytime you want to. Cancel anytime you want to. So that made, at this stage, we just started it in January. But that was a vision I had, to help other coaches get clients and to help me not have to coach so much and be able to send people say, oh, I can't afford your rate. Okay, we got coaches that charge 10 times less than I charge, $30 an hour. Work with them. I'm totally fine with it. My coaches, they pay $20 a month and they keep 100% of their earnings. If I was about the money, I'll be taking a percentage of their earning. If I was about the money, they wouldn't be paying $20 a month. They'll be paying, the guy who built the site, he had the price set at $250 a month, because in building the site, that's what he thought it was worth. He felt like if you're a professional life coach and you is trying to get clients, investing $250 a month into your business is a small investment if you taking yourself serious. He had it at $250 a month. I said, make it $19.99. They fell out. He's a white guy. The other person that was on there that was helping me, consulting with me, come from my partner who invested in one of my companies. He owns a tech company, a software company in Oregon. He put me with a guy who's 60-something years old, arrogant, condescending gentleman of another race. He talked down to me. I had to check him. We got into it a lot. And so, again, I'm just now finding avenues of people of color who do coding, who does tech. I wasn't connected in that way. I just now got connected with a young man that hired me for coaching. Now he's showing me a whole nother world of tech people, of color that I didn't even know exists. So really, I'm going to tell you, Tony Gaskins Academy, that was a vision that I had. I started doing group coaching by phone in 2010 was the first time I did it. In 2013, I created the Life Coach Certification Program. Why did I do it? Because there was a life coaching certification company that charged $2,500. My dad felt like he needed a certification to be stamped, to be established. So he paid $2,500 to get certified. At the end of the course, he said, I did not learn a thing. He said we had to buy a book off of Amazon that was $100 or $200 or something like that. He said we had to read a chapter of the book, and then we had to talk to a coach on the phone who asked us, what did you think about what you read? He said they didn't teach me nothing. They didn't tell me nothing. He said I had to write in and tell them to change me to a new coach because I wasn't learning nothing. He said, so really, son, I ain't learned nothing. I said, Dad, it's 2013. I've been coaching since 2007, since 2007, 2008. I said, let's create our own life coach certification program. I hit my partner up. He got a beach house. He got several beach houses. I said, hey, and this is how you know when you call by God, because God will put people in your life that help you. And that's what this partner is to me. I don't need his help today, but he's still there. And so he let me and my dad go to his beach house. The beach house, over $5 million. He let us go to the beach house. We spent, I think, 3 days there. I wrote the whole textbook, Life Coaching A to Z. I wrote the textbook. My dad wrote the policies and procedures for the workbook. So that's why it has typos and stuff like that. We did it ourselves. And then I wrote the quizzes for each week. And it was a 10-week course. And I taught it live by phone on teleconference call, freeconferencecall.com. And my first time I taught it, I think I had 30 people sign up. And I was charging $1,500. I charged $1,500 because the course my dad took was $2,500. So here I was, he took a course that nobody knew the founder of the course. The founder had no brand. The founder had not been on Oprah to tell her story, had not been on Tyra Banks, had not been on the 700 Club, did not work with the NBA, was not an international speaker, and I took and charged $1,000 less than what She charged for her course at $2,500. I charged $1,500. And then each year I went down on the cost instead of going up. Does bread cost more in 2020 than in 2013? Does gas cost more in 2020 than in 2013? So see, this is what you got to understand. If it was about the money, my price would have just went from $1,500 to $1,750 to $1,850 to $2,000 to $2,200. It's down right now. It's $850. It's increasing back up to market value. We going back up to market value. You know, I sold that course for a period of time, that $1,500 course. I ran a sale one time that it was $125. You know why? Because that's where my heart is at. Because I've always been a giver and been known as a giver. So guess what? I created Tony Gaskins Academy and the life coach certification where I'm training people what is coaching, how to be a coach, how to market yourself, how to build your business. I'm training them on the business of coaching, not what you say when you're on the call, because that's your gift. That's your thing. So that's what I'm doing. I'm training people on that. And every time I did the course live, it was less and less people, because the people who want to take it, that's who do it first. So it went from 30 people to 20 people to 15 people to 10 people to 5 people to 2 people doing it live. And it was $1,500. It's an investment. It costs money. So then I say, you know what? Let's go digital. And let me record it as videos and put it online. So I got with my partner, and he invested for me to build TonyGaskinsAcademy.com. We built it from scratch. I met a guy at the NBA thing. He lived out in Tech Valley. He did a deal with a guy for him to be the voice and the mental coach for an app. I reached out to him. His partner was a co-founder of Twitter. And so he took and connected me with him. That co-founder of Twitter connected me with this company that's supposed to be a tech company. And this just go to show you how sometimes people will connect you with people and they ain't even did their homework. They really don't, think much about who they throwing you to. He threw me to this company. I'm trusting him because he was a co-founder or one of the founding members of Twitter. So I'm like, I know he tied in. I know he connected in the tech world. He get me with a company. My partner invests for the site to be built. It cost $14,000 to build that site. The site crashed in 2 months. In the first month of the site, though, it earned $30,000. So it doubled what it cost. So when it crashed, now I'm left with students with nowhere to go. So then I found a software that already was up and running, and it cost $99 a month. I switched the domain. I reshot my courses. I invested in shooting the courses. Again, my partner, the Earth Angel, who God put there. My partner was not religious. My partner didn't pray. He fell under the scripture that say it'll be easier for a camel to fit through the eye of a needle than it would be for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. He became closer to God from just seeing me grow, seeing me build, seeing my business grow and change, and me giving God the glory. If I needed an investment, and he couldn't do it, and he said no, God made another way. And I give him that testimony. He started to see and believe and know that God was real through my life. Because he realized he wasn't my God. He started to realize that he was just a conduit. He realized that God was using him, and he didn't even really know God. And I expressed that to him later. And he said, man, I'll be honest with you, since I've been working with you, my life has changed. I make money. I make way more money. He was like, things have been going good for me. And it's because he tapped into sowing seed. And he was sowing seed on pure ground, on good ground. Now in this here, I probably between 2007 and 2009, really in 2009, after I went on Oprah, that's when different type of women started coming at me. And that's what the closest it was. That was the closest I became in 2009. That was the closest I became to losing my way. But God caught me. He caught me. He stopped me. He said, oh, here go grace. Here go mercy. Here go wisdom. Boy, you better get right. 2009, I turned over a new leaf. We in 2020. That's why you don't see receipts floating around. Because even the women that I dealt with in the past, that knew me in the past, they know that Tony ain't keep playing games. Tony, when Tony married, when his marriage, when he started promoting his marriage and he married and he faithful and he doing all that, and Tony wasn't playing no games with me. Tony wasn't sleeping with me. Tony wasn't flirting with me, trying to send me pictures or get pictures from me. That's why you don't see receipts floating online. And to be honest with you, with these other guys, relationship coaches that people bashing, I ain't seen no receipts online against them either. They might be doing it, and maybe women ain't talking, but I ain't seen no receipts online against them either. I really see it with the pastors mostly. Some of these pastors getting exposed, but with relationship coaches on a large scale, I ain't seen no receipts. And to be honest with you, it's because when you tap into purpose, that's accountability. So it keeps you more pure because you know people counting on you. So you got to understand, like, everybody ain't the same. Just because some people out here scamming and they doing this and that, everybody ain't the same. And you can't let people who bitter, who broken, cursing like a sailor, angry, mad, looking like, you know, they looking and sounding like they on drugs or on alcohol and just bashing people and just trying to, you know, perpetuate fear of you need to hate every man, you need to not trust every man, you need to, you know, believe every man is out to get you. None of these men care for you. It's like, how is that helping the world? How is that helping if you walking around in fear and everybody you looking at with a side eye? You ought to be able to look at a man and accept him for who he is because you know who you are and you know that you got the strength to cut him off if he shows you that he toxic. Instead of going in scared and skeptical and like, oh, you gonna cheat on me. Oh, you ain't no good. Oh, you a dog. No, you ought to be able to see him, give him the room to show you who he is, and then respond to what he shows you because you know who you are, because you know where you operating from, because you know, because you've gotten the knowledge. And so, see, a lot of people don't understand that when me and my wife, when I'm writing my book and I'm trying to be a speaker, that we was living, we used to be, as a married couple, we was on food stamps. We was on food stamps. We was on food stamps. My son, he was getting an SSI check that was $700 a month. And we were getting food stamps. Probably was $150 a month or something like that on food stamps. We was on WIC. We had WIC. You hear me? We were late. We done had lights turned off in the past. We done had water turned off. We done had cars repossessed. And I was a relationship coach and a life coach and an author and a speaker when we had cars repossessed, when we had lights cut off, water cut off, while I was living my purpose. Who doing it for the money? Who doing it for the money? You see what I'm saying? People got life messed up. People got me. You got me bent. If you think I'm out here just preying on women and for money, it's like YouTube. YouTube is a business. Google is a business. They bought YouTube. YouTube is a business. They gonna put ads. They not putting ads on our videos. And the same people who on YouTube bashing other people, bashing life coaches like myself, and mentioning me, they channel is gonna be monetized. They channel got ads too. So if we on here taking advantage of people, then what is the other people doing who saying stay away from coaches and don't listen to these coaches on their channel with thousands of views and getting monetized, or on their blog that get blogs is monetized, YouTube channels is monetized, sponsorships. You get sponsorships to mention this product and this thing right here. So it's like you got to look at a person, you got to get to know their story. You got to see what they come from. So for me today, Tony Gaskins Academy, the life coach certification, I got a life coach certification. I got a birth your book program on TonyGaskinAcademy.com. You can visit the site. I got TonyGaskinAcademy.com, and it got 12 to 15 courses on there. I'm getting ready to shoot a few more courses. I'm about to shoot a course on branding, on how to build a brand from A to Z, on just your personal brand. Because for authors and life coaches and speakers on how to build a brand. I'm going to shoot a course on how to do YouTube, how to start a YouTube channel. Right now, what I'm using for this channel right now, all of my equipment is my cell phone that you got to have anyways. So my extra equipment is $175 right now for my YouTube channel. And YouTube, they determine what they're gonna pay you based on, I guess, how long people watch a video. People say, oh, it's too many ads. YouTube set the ads. I don't go in and change the ads or move the ads around just because I don't pay that much attention to my YouTube. I don't got that kind of time. I don't edit my videos. I don't got that kind of time because I'm running businesses. I got several businesses. I got several clients. I'm writing books. I'm writing 2 books right now. Well, I'm kind of editing them. I got 3 books right now that's still open as a ghostwriter. I got 4 author consulting things right now. I got 4 or 5 clients that's on a business coaching program to where they pay up front and I'm helping them build their brand. We naming their company. We getting their domain. We building their website. I helping them one-on-one. So that's why I need to take next month off just to reset, just time for me. So it ain't about, so that's why with my YouTube, you see the ads on there. That's what YouTube says. This is how many ads should be in this video based on the length of this video. It's an algorithm. If you watch television for an hour, people complain about ads, but why you paying for cable and you watching ads for a service you pay for? You're not paying for YouTube. So what do you think is free in the world? They're gonna put ads because you're not paying. When you pay for YouTube Premium, there's no ads. So if you don't want ads, then you have to pay for YouTube Premium. YouTube get that money, and they'll give the creator a fraction of that money. That YouTube Premium is less than 1% of the ad revenue. And with the ads, you could hit skip. On most of them, you can hit skip. I don't watch my own videos, so I don't know what the ads look like. And I got YouTube Premium for $9.99 a month, or $12.99, one of them, a month, so that if I'm watching YouTube videos I want to watch, I invest that little $12.99, $9.99, so that I can watch it without having ads. That's a choice you could do. So it ain't about us just coming on here. I don't go and place the ads, and I don't go and remove them because I know I look at the YouTube. I look at the algorithm and I say, look, this what they feel like it's worth with this many ads, that's on them. And if you bothered by the ads, what you have to realize, that's a level of the content that you watching. You frustrated because it's interrupting your content. That means you into the content. So for me, I take that as a compliment, that you so into the content that you tired of being interrupted by an ad. But use that time to reset your mind, to process what I just said, to take a deep breath, to jot down the notes that you still writing, and then when the ad over, or when after the 4 seconds you can hit skip, then hit skip. That don't make none. That don't matter to me because I have learned I can't depend on one stream of income. Because I got a family to take care of, and I want them to have the absolute best life they could have. And this is what you're gonna notice about me. You ain't never seen me take a picture standing in front of my car, and on one of my cars. Because it ain't about the money. You ain't never seen me just sit here and show you my watches and my clothes. You ain't never seen me just sit here and show you all my wife's stuff. It ain't about materialistic stuff. I get stuff because I enjoy it, because I like it, because I'm treating myself. But it ain't about to show you to make you feel bad. I ain't trying to inspire you with material stuff. I want to inspire you with the word of God. I want to inspire you with living your purpose. I want to inspire you with one of these here courses that can help you change your life, that can help you move your life forward. And another thing about me, one thing a lot of people gonna end up saying one day is, Tony, block and delete. That's how I live by that. And I ain't saying, well, yeah, I block you and delete you because you come over here with the wrong spirit. You come on here with the wrong spirit, you gonna get blocked. So if you finna say something stupid out your mouth, a lady said something, Tony like to see these black men doing what they doing, messing up in their relationship because he profit off of it. That's the dumbest thing in the world. What in the world I look like as a husband and a father, happy to see other black men cheating on their wife? You work for Satan. Block. You block. I don't play with it. Yeah, I'm a blocker. You come out here accusing me of being a charlatan or being a thief or being somebody that's playing on women, being somebody that's trying to make up stuff. Everything I speak on is truth. Everything I speak on is fact. Everything I speak on comes from the heart. When we dealing with the killings in the street, that's what I teach on. I don't keep talking about relationships. When on Small Business Saturday, I'm talking about business. On Friday, I'm talking to the men. Because only 5% of my audience are men, so it would not make sense to be talking to men every day if it's women watching the channel. Now, if it changes and it becomes 95% men watching, then guess what? All my videos gonna be to men. But I'm a man, so I'm giving a male perspective. Men already know what I'm saying. That's why it's no sense for me to talk to men, because they already know right from wrong. They already know what I'm saying is the truth. That's why they ain't got nothing to say. That's why you don't see men in my comments arguing saying, you lying, you lying, you lying, you lying, you lying, because they know I'm telling the truth. Every guy ever met me, he said, boy, you be telling the truth. I don't want to hear it. Boy, you stepped on my toe, boy. I'm like, man, he giving it all. Man, he giving too much. A guy said to me, he was laughing. He was like, boy, man, I ain't want him to get all that, Tony. Man, I ain't want him to hear all that, Tony. Because they know I'm telling the truth. So, listen, if a person faking, they going to say what you want to hear. I ain't on here to tell you what you want to hear. I'm here to tell you what you need to hear. And see, me, I don't entertain people. I don't mention people's names. I don't be trying to say all the names and all that. But I talk about what the Lord tells me to talk about. And if you get to know me and you study me, so when you think I'm fake, that's when let me know something wrong with your spirit. Because I already know where I'm operating from. So from relationship coaching, right now, I'm doing 6 sessions a week. And it might be half and half, relationships and branding. So if that's 3 sessions a week, that's $900 a week. That's 900 times 4. If it's 4 weeks, if I coach 4 weeks, 9 times 4 is 9, 18, 27, 36. That's right, 36,000. I mean 3,600. So 900 times 4, that's $3,600 a month from one-on-one relationship coaching. $3,600. Because mine split about half and half between relationships and branding of what people hire me for. So what kind of, you ain't balling out of control. You ain't got no private island in Tahiti off $3,600 a month from relationship coaching. You know what I'm saying? And now in YouTube, it earn money. YouTube will earn money if you're gonna be consistent. But guess what? They compensating you equivalent to your time that you giving and to the people that you reaching, because they are marketing. I'm not marketing ads. YouTube marketing ads. So if women watching me between the ages of 25 and 44, they're gonna say these are working women who making this amount of money and would like these products. So we're gonna put these ads. And it's people who teach on finances. If it was about the money, I'll be teaching on finances. It's people teaching on finance that I watch making $300,000 a month doing the same thing I'm doing right now, sitting down, talking to a camera on YouTube, making $300,000 a month, making multi-millions, and that's their only stream of income is YouTube. And they may have some courses and making multi-millions. I have over 50 streams of income, meaning 50 products, assets, services, over 50 streams of income that I have to create to take care of my family. So anytime you want to think back, you can come over here and I'll sit down and show you my companies, my products, my services, my stream of income. I'll sit down and show you. So anytime you want to think that I'm on here just trying to make money off women talking about love and relationships, what you got to realize is I was doing this for free for years, for free. I was doing this, and then when it went from for free, it was for minimum wage with no sign of it growing, with no sign that I was going to be able to earn a living, with no sign of it. When you ever did something 3-4 years free, tell me. The only way you do that is because it's your purpose, it's your passion, it's your calling. And guess what? A byproduct of pursuing your God-given purpose is that He will take care of you. God will provide for you. And that's what a lot of people mad about. A lot of people mad that people who have tapped into purpose are able to live, able to work for themselves and not have to hustle and scam and work a job because they tapped into purpose. And people come and they see what I do and they take a course and they expect to be where I am, earning what I earn overnight. They expect it to happen in 3 months. They expect it to happen in 6 months. I have people all the time, hey, I just became a life coach. I want to leave my job. I became a life coach in 2007. I didn't leave my job till 2011, and I still wouldn't have left my job if I didn't get an investment. I left my job because my friend said, I will give you what your job pay you so you can leave the job for 1 year with the option of going back to work after that year. But I just so happened, the grace and favor of God, I was able to make it work by creating multiple streams of income. Love and relationships was not making me no money. It was me ghostwriting and author consulting and speaking what started earning money. So understand that right there. This right here, this is my longest video ever. And this for the people who watch this video, whether you're going to sleep, whether you're on a long drive, whether you got a long day of work, people watch this video, that's who I'm called to. If you ain't get this far, you don't care nothing about it, that the people who ain't get here, that's because I ain't calling them. They ain't calling them. And listen, you know, me, I don't go back and forth with trolls and all that. I don't go back and forth with it. I ain't gonna be mentioning nobody's name, and don't y'all mention their name, because there ain't no promo. And I don't need nobody praise. And I think it was Mother Teresa say, let praise nor criticism change you. Let praise nor criticism affect you. And I don't let the praise go to my head, and I don't let the criticism stop what God called me to do. When I get criticized, I'm going to go harder. When I see haters out there, I'm going to go harder. Oh, you thought you were tired of me? Oh, you really finna be tired of me, because now I might do 3 videos a day. What I was saying, next month, when I'm taking next month off from coaching, and eventually I'm not going to be doing one-on-one sessions, because eventually I'm going to have to be in the trenches working in other ways that I ain't going to be able to do one-on-one session. And I feel the time coming, because I don't want to be one of the people that's charging a gross amount of money for their time. But at the same time, I got to do what God called me to do, and I got to be able to feed my family at the same time. So, you know, hey, it gonna come a time, they're talking about silent mode off. I ain't cut silent mode off. Thing up here. Phone trying to be tapped now. I ain't cut silent mode off, phone tapped. I'm gonna cut my silent mode off. I had the phone on silent. But whoever got my phone tapped, they like, man, where you been for 2.5 hours? Because I got my phone on airplane mode. But I got to go, I got to coach a young man, coaching a young man. So, he marketing the women. He marketing the women. He taking advantage of women. He just out here. Guess what? I'm finna coach a man. In 7 minutes, I'm coaching a man in California. And you know what he did? Signed up for 4 sessions and paid for the 4 sessions up front. You know who I coached yesterday? A man from Bahamas. You know who coming over here today? A man from Jamaica. That's a client of mine. So for all this, he's just coaching women, he's just taking advantage of women. No, I'm coaching men too. So take that. How you like them apples? You hear me? Hey, it's Tony Gaskins. Understand, I just told you through my whole story so you can see this ain't no game for me. This ain't no gimmick for me. I'm going to get everything God got for me, but I can't manipulate this here. I can't manipulate numbers. I can't make nobody hire me. I can't make nobody pay me. I can't make nobody buy a book. I can't make nobody buy a course. So everything that happened in my life, I counted blessings and favor from God. I can't make nobody do nothing. And I ain't scamming nobody into nothing. I watch guys on YouTube that every single video, they say, like this video and subscribe to this channel. How many times do you say that? I don't say that on none of my videos because I don't believe in having my hand out. I don't believe in begging for nothing. People say hit the cash out in my description. My cash out not in none of my descriptions. I don't have a Patreon. I got the Blessed Tribe because YouTube kept pitching it to me, so I said, let me try it. And you know what I did? The Blessed Tribe, I could have made it $5.99, $4.99, $9.99. I made it $1.99. So that it is so cheap that it just literally for pure supporters. For people who say, I just want to support. I just want to support Tony and what he doing. So, If you see somebody out here and they gimmicky and they just playing the game and they just doing this and that, and it sounds like they just saying what people want to hear, and they just doing all. Listen, it's a lot of time women get mad at me because I'm telling the truth when it ain't in their favor. A lot of time people get mad. The men a lot of time mad because I say what need to be said, not what want to be heard. I say what need to be said. And so listen, don't lump me in with nobody if you don't know me. If you don't know me, you don't know my story, you don't know why I'm here doing this, keep my name out your mouth. You hear me? Keep my name out your mouth. Because I mess around here, your defamation of character in a court of law. You hear me? Because people are taking, say, oh, these relationship coaches sleeping with their clients. Or these relationship coaches scamming people out of money. Or these relationship coaches, and they'll be done said my name in the lump with other coaches and ain't got no receipts on me, ain't had nobody tell them I scammed them out of money, ain't had nobody tell them I slept with them when they was a client, ain't had nobody tell them that, but just because they done said my name, now they got me lumped in with their foolishness. Listen, I'm the wrong one to play with. Because for one, the Bible says, touch not the anointing, do my prophet no harm. So for one, every single person I done seen try to come against the work that I'm doing, their life start to go through. They start to go through. Their life start to plummet. They start to go through because I know I'm working for God. So when you step into this spiritual realm, you in spiritual warfare. And when you attacking the good, guess what? Attack's finna come for you. It's gonna bounce back on you. Hey, God bless you. I got to go. My wife getting ready to go. So let me let y'all go. God bless you. We'll talk soon.